First of all, Dave's going to give a few words. We're going to have him kind of explain this information.
All right, so we're here because of a couple of things that happened. So let's just kind of do a quick review, even though I think most of you know exactly why we're here. So these are necessitated by the fact that we had 10 snow days. It was not an expected kind of a thing, but we did have those. Normally, there's a state law that requires that seniors have no less than 5 days from what everybody else has. And so with 10 snow days, we had to make a decision as a board as to whether or not we were going to change graduation, move it forward, or keep graduation the same, in which case we had to schedule some additional days for seniors. And so based on the input that the board received from the community, we had over 500 seniors, over 500 parents respond that they wanted to keep graduation on that Saturday where it was already scheduled. And so that necessitated us being able to do some other things for seniors, and Senior Saturdays came up with. So there are 3 Senior Saturdays scheduled, March 25th, April 15th, and April 29th. On each of those days, there's multiple choices for seniors. I will note that Kennewick High has added some activities for the April 15th date. They are waiting to send a new letter out until they determine what the board's going to do tonight, so that they only have to send that back out one time. Because these days were something that the principals had to put together and could not compel teachers to be there because the teacher contract doesn't require them to work on Saturdays. They had to either get volunteer teachers or try to find some activities that wouldn't require a ton of supervision. And so one of the ideas that they came up with was to bring in a speaker. The speaker they chose was Brad Henning. So just a little bit about Brad Henning. He has a long history of presenting at our school. So I just did something for you so I can do my confession right now. So just take a set and pass those down, a whole set. So basically from 2001 through 2008, he presented every year to freshmen during the spring testing calendar. The way that worked was, back when the WASL test started, there was still a test that the freshmen had to take. The WASL was for sophomores, the freshmen had to take the ITED. Well, it started out as the ITBS and it changed to the ITED. It was Iowa test, basically. And the board at that time said, we don't want freshmen at home. We don't mind juniors and seniors being at home because they're a bit more mature. And so you can bring the sophomores in for their 8 days of testing, but we want the freshmen to come in as well and find some things to do for them after they finish the Iowa test. And so we created a number of different things for them to do. One of the things we had all of our freshmen do was go do a tour of TriTech. Another thing that we had them do was our mandatory HIV/AIDS training. And so we just tried to do some of those things to kind of fill up the time. And so one of the things that we did every year from 2001 to 2008 is we had Brad Henning as one of those days so that everything was filled in for freshmen while the sophomores took the WASL. In 2008, the WASL became a graduation requirement, so that meant starting in 2009, the focus shifted. The ITED was dropped, and so we no longer had to bring freshmen in for testing. Simultaneously, since the WASL was a graduation requirement, we had to bring juniors back who hadn't passed the WASL. And so at that time, the principals came to the board members at that time and said, hey, can we not deal with the freshmen anymore? Can we just have the sophomores who have to take the WASL the first time, and then the juniors who are making it up? And the board agreed to that. And so that pretty much ended that pattern that we had from 2001 to 2008 of Brad Henning presenting every year. He's presented a couple of events. I think there's 2 times we've identified since 2008 that he's come in. He did once at Kennewick High around 2010-ish, and once at Kennewick since then. This is what the principals put in the letter about what the presentation was going to be. So here's the situation. He's currently scheduled to present on April 15th, and his presentation is one of the choices for seniors on that day. So that's where we kind of stand as of right now. He's under contract for that day, so we would have to take an action if the board wanted to forfeit that contract or whatever we'd have to do to kind of end that. And so, as the board is well aware, we've been getting a lot of contacts from the community who want him to be removed as a speaker, and we've been getting a lot of contacts also that want him to be kept as a speaker. And so that's kind of where it stands tonight. We do not have another board meeting until April 19th. And so if there's going to be a decision made tonight, to change anything, it has to be made tonight. So I think that's where we stand. I just wanted to kind of show you that on the letters that went out to parents, this is the Kennewick one. I just grabbed the section for April 15th for each of them. You can see the Brad Henning Assembly. That's the part I quoted earlier. There are basically 4 options there. The Southbridge one has 4 options for kids on that day, and the Kennewick one, as I mentioned earlier, has a couple of options, but Kennewick has since added additional options to their plate. They just haven't put out a new letter yet because they're waiting for the board to decide. Yes. Yeah. So there's some more things, and Ron King is here, and he can give you a copy of those, but they would be consistent with what the other schools are offering on those days. So you can kind of see the kind of things that they have in addition to that. Okay.
Any questions for Dave from the board members?
I'd like to hear what are the specific options that have been added for Kennewick.
So Mr. King, can I call on him? Don? Okay, Mr. King.
Sure. So we added, we've had on some of our other upcoming senior Saturdays, Apex and ASAP. So ASAP is our senior tutorial program that we run year-round. The seniors will have an opportunity to work on their CWP senior paper with the teacher that is supporting with that. We're going to have an opportunity for seniors to write advice letters to incoming freshmen for next year. So they can leave kind of a memorial and advice for an incoming freshman that we can share with the freshmen on our freshman first holiday next year. We're also going to have a resume and cover letter assistance, so senior looking for jobs and things like that will get some help working on their resume and a cover letter.
I have a question. Are we paying for any of this?
Yes.
Is the taxpayer pay for any of this?
Yes. Yeah, we have a contract with him. I think the cost of the assembly is $1,500.
Are there any other agenda items that are alternatives for that day, so we're paying for speakers or anything?
I would probably have to defer to the principals for that. Obviously, on any of these items that we have to bring our teachers in, they're going to get supplemental pay because Saturday isn't a work day for them. So we'll be providing supplemental pay. I think you're already funded. I'm looking in the direction of the principals. Are there any other activities of the lists that you see here that are additional costs to the district?
Just the bus to the E-reactor tour that we're doing this weekend.
Okay, so that's not this weekend, but on the other days, for example, we're paying to bus kids out to the B reactor. Help me out, all of you over there.
7:30, 10 o'clock.
Any other events that we're using district funds for?
No.
Okay.
Any other questions?
All of these options comply with some experience requirements for the school instructional.
Yes. They're pretty flexible, given the winter that we had and the fact that the governor declared our state of emergency for our area.
Okay, thank you. Now at this time, we're going to open the floor to public comments, and I'm going to, before we do that, there's a lot of people here, and I'm going to have some kind of a structure to this process. And before I even do that, I'm going to ask, just by raise of hands, how many of you are district residents? Okay. Wow. And how many of you are parents of graduating seniors? Okay, that helps. How many of you are going to graduate? We have some, okay. And now this is the one. How many of you support the speaker? And how many do not support the speaker? Okay, it's kind of a balance here. Okay, thank you. What I'm going to do is go through a process. If you have requested to speak, you sign in on this one. So if you want to speak, or have you signed in already? I'm not going to call on the names of people in the order that you're here, because what I'm going to request is, if you want to speak, raise your hand, I'll call on you. You have a minute to speak, and if your message is something new and different than has already been heard, then you should speak. If your message is going to be just a duplicate of what we've already heard, then we've already heard it. And we recognize that there are going to be a lot of duplicate messages because we've read all your emails by now. And emails of other people who aren't here, I would expect, because there were a lot. So at this point, I am going to open the floor for the public comment, and please don't laugh after somebody's cheeks. That takes time, and we want this to be kind of succinct. It really can turn into an unwieldy meeting. As well, no boos, hisses, praises. Just be courteous and respectful of each other. And I appreciate that. Makes it easier for me. Okay, at this point, please come up to the podium microphone so that everyone can hear what you're saying. And if you'd like to approach the board and speak in this matter, raise your hand and I'll explain it here. Right here. Identify yourself by your name. If the board knows, is that okay? Or as soon as you say out loud? I'm going to assume that if you're up here, you signed in and put your address down. Okay? Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ansley Gerhardt. I would like to start out by sharing a personal story that a friend sent me after hearing Brad Henning. Brad Henning came to Chiawana when I was a sophomore and completely devastated me. I left the presentation feeling like I was the most disgusting woman in the world because of what he said. My first relationship at the time was extremely toxic and domestically violent. I was raped constantly and suicidal from it all. I came to the presentation looking for something positive to help me. Yet all I took away was that I was a slut who doesn't have her virginity anymore, who must stay in her relationship because who's going to want her now? Oh, no one. Oh, and because he isn't a virgin anymore, we must learn to love each other's flaws because we're basically stuck together. The best part of this is I even went out to my way to reach out to him and ask for advice personally, but all I got in return was that I'm a bad Christian for letting that happen and I should have known better. I was 15. I'm asking you guys to please reconsider the speaker. It is unacceptable that district funds are being used for this. His presentation is heteronormative, it's sexist, and frankly, it's not based in any kind of scientific evidence. If you look at his website, and the materials that he puts out, I was appalled. Thank you.
So my name is Nathan. I am a Southbridge senior this year. I just want to say that I have been to multiple of Brad's presentations. And first of all, he's one of the most amazing speakers I have ever seen. I have never seen someone be able to keep a room full of middle schoolers, high schoolers so entertained like he did. And I mean, as a senior and as someone who's been in a relationship for over 2.5 years, I would like to say that a lot of things that he says are completely true. I've applied a lot of things that he said to my own relationship, and it has changed immensely, and it's so cool to see that change. I also wanted to mention a lot of the things that he says are just true, and he does point out the difference between guys and girls and how you're supposed to structure a relationship and how it should be structured. And I think a lot of that in our high schools today is not there. The guys, and I mean, I'm not speaking for all guys, but a lot of things that I've seen, guys are very disrespectful. They don't know how to respect women. And this is what he teaches. I'll give you an example. A while back at Southbridge, there was a student who decided that it would be funny to post on Twitter a list of girls' first and last names of who he slept with to find other guys and basically mock those girls. And I think that is so disgusting. And we need someone to be speaking about how to structure a relationship, because that person obviously did not know how to treat women at all. And all those comments about how Brad is sexist are completely wrong. I wouldn't listen to anyone who hasn't seen him in person, because I am someone who's seen him in person multiple times. And I also just wanted to finish it with the fact that sorry, I'm totally forgetting what I want to say. Just the fact that a lot of those guys don't really understand what a relationship is. Because honestly, all I've been taught throughout high school is as long as I don't get a girl pregnant, I don't get an STD, and I practice safe sex, my relationship's going to be amazing. And that is a complete lie. Because there's so much more to a relationship than that portrays. And that's all we've been taught. That's all we get taught about in high school. Through my 4 years of experience, and I'm a student at CBC, even at CBC, I have seen all of this stuff about practicing sex, blah, blah, blah. And they never talk about how you should be treating each other in a relationship, and that's what he does. Is he brings up the hard issues of how you should be treating your girlfriend, how you should be treating your boyfriend. Okay, sorry. But yeah, so that's my
I'm gonna go over here. To you, yeah. I mean, I still don't want to ignore that side of the room because you guys are farther away.
Hi, my name is Nicole Hatcher, and I am a staff member over at Southbridge High School. I've been teaching coming up on 10 years now, and I have seen Brad Henning speak 3 or 4 times. He has been able to, like Nathan said, be relatable to middle school students, to high school students, as well as myself the last time that I saw him, which was a couple months ago, at a recent youth group camp in January. And so one of the things that he does is he, like again Nathan said, he talks about relationships. He talks about how guys are. So guys, and I'm about ready to break things down for you. Guys they have a word limit. They don't like to talk on and on and on and on. And so that's something I didn't know about guys. And girls, we like to talk a lot. Guys don't like to deal with drama, and he talks about that. And girls, we kind of are dramatic. So it's really awesome how he breaks things down. And it's not necessarily, he talks about relationships, but he also talks about friendships. And so the things that I was able to learn from that and take away from that is how I'm able to address my students, how I'm able to address my athletes that I coach, my coworkers. I'm a male head track and field coach, and I know how to talk to the guys. And it's really awesome because I was able to go through this experience to be able to relate to these gentlemen. I'm also going blank, but he is he's an awesome man. I've told my students about him. Each of my seniors, I've talked to them and I've said, this guy is a guy that you want to see because he is able to talk about the things that you don't hear about. And one more thing that I talked to him about was just, sorry, I'm trying to think and I don't want to forget. I forgot. There's a lot of people here and I'm nervous and I apologize. But I highly, highly recommend from the bottom of my heart, and some of you guys know who I am and know my character and know all of that. I highly recommend Brad Henning to come to the school district as one of the many options that the seniors have to be able to experience for their senior Saturdays.
Go back to the middle section.
Hello, my name is Janie Romine. I'm actually a resident of West Richland. I'm here to speak on something I guarantee Mr. Henning won't be speaking about, and that's your LGBTQ students. As mom of a teen that will be attending high school next year, I'm strongly opposed to any school district interjecting a misogynistic and heteronormative dialogue into any element of a student's high school experience, be it optional or not. As a gay teen, my son is not heteronormative. The conservative estimate is 1 in 10 people identify as LGBTQ. The LGBTQ students are in every demographic, socioeconomic, and religious segment. LGBTQ students are fighting for a safe and inclusive program in our school system. By promoting a speaker that is not safe or inclusive of your LGBTQ students, you put those students at a greater risk of harm through bullying and assault. Why not choose a speaker that promotes inclusivity, diversity, and tolerance? Those are real issues 100% of the time with your LGBTQ students. Why not promote inclusion and diversity? That's something that every student could benefit from, and every LGBTQ student could benefit from. My son is safe, he can come out at home. But there's lots of students that have to hide in secret because they're even afraid of their parents. This isn't about how to treat just your boyfriend or your girlfriend. It should be about how to treat every human that crosses your path. Inclusivity needs to be promoted, especially in this political climate that's taking place. I strongly oppose this interjection of this dialogue in the school system, especially at a fee of your taxpayers' expense.
So my name is Cheyenne Bailey. I'm sorry that I sound like this. I'm very sick. Actually, I was not planning on leaving the house, but having seen him in person and listening to one of his talks, I could not resist talking about it and sharing what he's done in my life. So I come from an interesting background. My father left me when I was a baby. I was only 2 years old. And the thing that I was most scared of growing up is a man doing that to me. What his talks have taught me is how to respect myself, how to learn that I am not going to be somebody who has to earn a man's love by giving up my sexuality to him and giving up my virginity to him, and how I can wear my purity ring proud every day without feeling like every guy's gonna look at me and be like, she's a prude. She doesn't want anybody. She's gonna die alone with several cats. I'm a dog person. Anyway, he taught me how to love myself and respect myself and how to identify a relationship with a man who's gonna show me the love and respect that I deserve. And that's the LGBTQ community. He may not teach you how to be in a relationship with somebody of the same sex, but he will teach you how to hold a good friendship, how to identify a toxic relationship, even if it is someone with the same sex, and how to help somebody else out who's in a toxic relationship. And to address the first speaker, no disrespect to your friend. I feel so bad that she has to feel that way about herself, and she should not. But what he talks about, and what he taught a lot of the girls, I was at a 3-day conference with him, but what he taught a lot of the girls is that if you have already lost your virginity, there's nothing wrong with you, but you have to respect yourself enough to reclaim that for yourself. And you have to show that you love yourself enough to show that the next relationship that you're in, that man has to respect you and your choices. So thank you for your time and listening.
Okay, we're going to go back to the Barnes section right there. White shirt.
My name is Avery Benson. I went to one of the conferences for Brad Henning, and I just want to say that not only does he talk about the differences between guys and girls and sex and what not to do and how to treat a person in a relationship, he also talks about the true meaning of love, which is choosing the highest good for someone else. And I think that is something that kids nowadays need to understand. And so I think that you shouldn't be taking away my choice or any of the other people's choice if they want to go and really hear and learn about what the true meaning of love is and how to respect someone. Thank you.
There's so much to there. A whole bunch of hands went up. I mean, yeah. There's so much to do.
Hi, I'm Annie Beardsley. I am a senior this year at Southbridge High School. I just want to say that throughout my 4 years of high school and through middle school, I knew a lot of people who weren't the same faith as I am or who didn't relate religiously whatsoever. And I was taught through secular opinion that abstinence doesn't work, that's not a thing, that you don't just go through high school without having sex. It's, that's not what a relationship is. And to have somebody who is an older man he's married, he has so much experience, I guess, on relationships, and I've heard him twice as well. It's really refreshing to hear somebody say that you being abstinent and you being who you want to be is okay. Because I can't tell you enough times how many girls or guys have told me, how dare you hold something back that's not even important. And it's really nice to hear that something I hold important, something I hold super dear to my heart, something that I'm so proud of, is worth it. And I personally have stayed away from relationships, not just because of that, just because I have other things I've decided to focus on, but I have had a lot of friends who have struggled in relationships. I've had a lot of friends who have felt broken from relationships, not saying it's just because of it, but hearing their opinions has made me, I guess, like look to what Brad says and realize that maybe these relationships haven't worked out because of this. But he's not telling you that these are the exact guidelines you have to follow or your relationship just will not work. He's not saying that people in the LGBTQ community can't have relationships, that they don't connect to these relationships or these morals. I have quite a few friends who relate religiously with me who also are part of the LGBTQ community, and I guess they would agree with what Brad says. I've had a few of them see Brad, and I mean, they had questions from the beginning, but once they saw him, they realized, well, he's not just singling out heteronormative people like me. He's talking to people and trying to outreach to people, and I think it's a good time to teach teenagers, especially that you guys had brought him in when people were freshmen. It's a good time when kids are impressionable to teach them how to respect women or men or how to have relationships, because, like I said, I was taught all through high school that a relationship is sex, and sex is love. And that's not to say that anybody who hasn't chosen my path and who hasn't tried to stay away from that kind of stuff is dirty, because that's not what Brad says. He doesn't say that you're wrong, that's disrespectful to yourself. It's not what he says. He really does talk about love, and some of the stuff he said like has made me look for that in relationships of my own, and that's one of the reasons why I haven't been in a relationship. I really hold what he says to my heart, and I really truly believe that he's really trying to help kids get out of those relationships that maybe they stay in that leave them hurt until they're older, or just when they're trying to think of the word, sorry, but when they're just impressionable. And people, just teenagers are so impressionable, and I think it's a good idea to bring somebody in who maybe teaches them something else. Maybe teaches them that what everything else is said, and it is an option, so it's not like we're making them do it, but it's nice, and it feels good for myself to hear that what I've chosen can be an option, instead of told that it can't be. So, thank you.
It's like, are we all going to get 5 minutes? Because we'll be here a while. 5 minutes for everybody? Yep, 1 minute, remember? 1 minute. I want to be here till tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Gretchen Carter. I'm a Kennewick resident, a taxpayer, and parent of students who attended and graduated from the Kennewick schools. I believe there's a state law that still stands that requires schools to provide fact-based, medically accurate sex education if they choose to provide sex ed to students. I was surprised to find out last month that schools in the Tri-Cities no longer provide sex ed, presumably because they don't comply with state law. That's a travesty, but a topic for another day. Next, I was surprised to find out that KSD was bringing Brad Henning in to give a presentation to seniors. Well, perhaps you can get away with bringing Mr. Henning to speak because it's not an official sex ed class. I would expect you to comply with state law since it's a requirement for students to attend. I reviewed Mr. Henning's website and watched some of his videos. His information is not fact-based. The note that went out to parents said that, quote, he is one of the most humorous and engaging speakers we have ever had. I failed to find any humor in the material. I'm appalled that you would have a presenter who denigrates women, shaming and blaming girls for all the ills of relationships, calling them sluts for having any sexual desire, let alone acting on it, and saying it is a girl's job to stay pure until marriage so the husband has a place to come home to after work, to have sex so he can be productive at work the next day. Apparently, according to his information, boys have no responsibility because they can't help that God made them horny, his words. That doesn't compute to healthy relationships. The rest of your makeup program looks appropriate. You're reviewing the parent letter. I was thinking of those kinds of things as a substitute for Mr. Henning's talk. I ask that you substitute another speaker that has a better message for students, one that regards young men and young women as equal and responsible partners in relationships, and treats them all as worthwhile human beings with greater purpose than someone's chattel. Brad Henning's message is not appropriate in public school settings. So we're consistent. I'm back to middle, in the center, in the red.
Hi, I'm Sarah Ard. I'm the proud parent of a Kennewick senior, and I also have seen Mr. Henning's presentation in person. I'd like to thank you for allowing everybody a chance to share our concerns and opinions. Mr. Henning's presentation, if he was allowed to give it, would equal school-sponsored sexual discrimination and harassment. Mr. Henning discriminates against girls and women by referring to them as sluts and easy girls in his presentation. On his website, at least twice, he refers to women as bitches. He mocks the way women walk and talk in his presentation. He asks girls why they wear padded underwear. He perpetuates stereotypes of women. He says if boys are jerks, it's girls' fault. He says if grown men are immature or unfaithful in their marriage, it's because a girl ruined them. Mr. Henning tells boys that if a girl in a bikini walked into the auditorium where he's giving the speech, they would all catcall and follow her. He then demonstrates how to harass women. This is a part of his speech that I've seen. Mr. Henning discriminates against boys by telling them they can't control their sexual urges. Girls have to train them. Those are his words. Mr. Henning creates a hostile environment for girls by encouraging his audience to laugh at them. And he says things like, all girls know this, all guys know this, in reference to sexist claims he makes. If a girl gets upset in his presentation, he calls her out as an example of the discrimination that he's just talked about. Due to the elements of sexual harassment and discrimination in Mr. Henning's presentation, hosting it at a public school would be a violation of KSD policy, Washington state law, and federal Title IX civil rights law that states that no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. As a previous speaker noted, Mr. Henning's presentation, if he's allowed to give it, would also be in violation of Washington Healthy Youth Act, which mandates that all sexual health instruction materials must be medically and scientifically accurate, appropriate for students regardless of gender, race, sexual orientation, or disability status, and consistent with the guidelines for sexual health and disease prevention. Mr. Henning's presentation is none of these. What it is an affront to medical and scientific understanding of human sexuality. He attempts to imitate evolutionary thinking about why, in his sexist opinion, men have evolved for promiscuity, but women have evolved for controlling men's promiscuity. He also attempts to explain that boys can't help staring at boobs, his words. These are on his website. He says this is because they were breastfed as babies. I was breastfed. I can help it. He says that if a girl is if a boy is ogling a girl's chest, she should change the way she's dressed, holding the girl responsible for the boy's behavior. His theories are not remotely close to anything that would stand up to the scientific method, nor is his relationship device anything that would be recommended by the American Psychological Association. Aside from blaming girls and women for boys and men's shortcomings, he promotes digging ideas for boys that raise red flags for controlling manipulative behavior, such as a boy stealing a girl's prized possession and making her meet him somewhere to reclaim it, or having a police officer follow, frighten, and detain girls to give them an invitation. As a matter of fact, in regard to Mr. Henning's presentation, Domestic Violence Services of Benton and Franklin County said it reinforces dangerous gender expectations and stereotypes and fails to include information about what to do if their relationship is unsafe. His presentation also greatly undermines the personal responsibility that guys have for their own behavior. I have faith that you will do the right thing and uphold the law. This is not about whether the presentation is popular or not. It's about whether it's legal or not. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm clapping.
Okay, this I will go with you in agreement. I may end up going through everybody, but I'm not going to even look at that.
That was outstanding.
Thanks for letting all of us talk. I'm just going to read her so I'll forget. I am a teacher. My name is Courtney Berman. I am a teacher. I'm a high school youth leader, and I also mentor a group of 8th grade girls every week. And the number one thing that they always want to talk about, that they always have questions about, is relationships. Any kind of relationship, friendships, dating relationships, parents, you name it, they want to talk about relationships. I've heard Brad live twice and then watched his video series another 2 times. Brad's main point over and over and over is, and you guys heard this, but I'm just going to read it real quick, is the definition of love, which is choosing the highest good for the other person. And from that, he helps us see that relationships are not to be selfish and self-fulfilling. Whatever the relationship is, be it friendships, parents, children, dating, and every other relationship on the planet, we are to be loving each other with that definition in mind. Again, choosing the highest good for the other person. It is not sex ed. I've been through sex ed. I've taught sex ed, and that is not what he does. Like I said, I heard Brad speak a few times, and never once did he call girls sluts. Those accusations have been taken out of context. He does not say that just because you are not a virgin, that means you are a slut. He does not suggest that we be intolerant. He himself is not intolerant. He does not discriminate. He is never degrading to either sex, boys or girls, and he teaches both about how to love and respect the other. I think it's great that KSD is considering Brad as an option on a non-mandatory Saturday. And in a world of selfies and self-agendas, I think it's really good to have someone remind us of what love should be. Thanks, guys.
Back to the middle section. Back there, is that a question? No. Right in front of you.
Hi, my name is Allison Dabler. I'm a mother with 2 children in the Kennewick School District, one of which is in high school, not a senior yet. I myself have not seen Brad speak publicly, but I have seen not just propaganda and what people have said about him, but straight from the horse's mouth, the town slut. And there is nothing healthy about that. This definition of love, to put the greater good, that's abstract. That could be anything, right? Above oneself, this is very unhealthy. I hope that you all have done your due diligence to this subject and did your own research. I don't feel that it's appropriate. I don't feel that it is legal, and I'm pretty sure that that's the case here, and I hope that you make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity. I really appreciate it. My name is Reg Unterzeyer. I have lived in Kennewick for over 30 years. I have 3 children who started, who were in Kennewick schools for a period of 17 years, from the first one until the last one. I've been around the Kennewick School District some. What I heard from Mr. Henning's mouth was, guys are mostly jerks, and girls are the ones who taught them to be that way. There is nothing healthy about that, either in the education of girls or boys, or people who are not, who don't identify in any of those ways, or people who have relationships with same-sex partners, with whatever they have relationships. There is nothing healthy about that. Nothing. And those words came out of his mouth. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Cassandra Smith. I'm a resident of Kennewick, and I am a Kennewick graduate. I graduated, I think, the first year, or I was a freshman the first year that Brad started speaking regularly. I just actually really want to respond to that gentleman's comment. when he says that women taught men how to be jerks. Brad's exact teaching is that as a girl who allows a boy to treat you poorly, when you allow them to continuously do it, they think that it's okay. And so if you aren't, you have to respect yourself enough to stand your ground and stand up for yourself. And so by saying that women teach boys how to be jerk, or girls teach boys how to be jerk, is taken significantly out of context from what he's really teaching. Now, I am a youth leader for a group of high school girls, which all asked that they could be here tonight, and several of them have spoken. What I have yet to see is a teenager who has heard Brad speak and not appreciated what he had to say. I have heard adults stand up and say that they've heard Brad speak and not appreciated what he had to say. And I understand that as we grow older, different opinions come in and our minds change and our views change, and that's something that just happens as we grow older and get more information. But as a youth, what's affecting them now and their decisions now, every teenager that has gotten up to speak has above and beyond supported what Brad has to say. Somebody else spoke about diversity in what we teach. Well, the majority of what we teach is safe sex, condoms, don't get an STD, don't get pregnant, birth control, free birth control. And so teaching them that it's okay to be abstinent is diversity. It is giving them another option. And I think that is hugely important in a society where sex is encouraged in the peer groups that they're running with right now. And so to have a different option, while I know it is a mandatory Saturday, it is not a mandatory class. They have several options, and if their parents choose to keep them out of it and have them go to a different class, that is absolutely within the parents' right. But for the parents who want their children to learn about abstinence and have someone, an adult, that they can talk to about sex, because how many of the teenagers in this room want to go up to their parents and talk to them about sex? I don't know if I can get any of them to raise their hand, right? This is a grown adult who is more than willing to talk about sex and what it is, what it feels like, what it represents, what it can do for a relationship in the right context and against a relationship in the wrong context. So I, above and beyond, hope that you continue to support Brad, obviously. Thank you for your time.
Okay, I'm going to start to put more controls on our 1 minute. I'm not doing that out of courtesy for the speaker, but I've asked for 1 minute, so I'm going to now stick to it because the clock is going on and I'm not worried about it. So I'm just going to go this, yeah, right here in the center.
Hello, my name is Gabrielle Clegg, and I'm a senior at the Richland School District. I would just like to address another possible addition to the senior makeup days, which is a mental health specialist named Emily Richmond, who I have seen has offered her services to the Kennewick School District for seniors. Emily is a stand-up comedian, and I have worked with her personally at the Academy of Children's Theater. She has a master's degree in mental health, and she has offered her services to teach a more science-based and equality-driven message to our seniors. I know Emily personally, as I said, and she teaches a broader message that I think would be a good substitute for seniors, or at least another option, so they can learn more about science-driven sexual behaviors. Thank you.
I'll take you if you want.
You'll do.
Okay, hello, my name is Brittany Chauvin. I actually recently just graduated from Hanford. So I actually want to go through a couple things. I first saw Brad when I was a freshman, and I loved him. He made me feel like I was worth it. He taught us what love was. He taught us that love was choosing the higher good for the other person. At this time, I wasn't in a relationship. I was single. And then this year, I saw it as he came to our winter retreat. I'm now in a relationship of over a year, and he just went over the same exact thing. He was not sexist whatsoever. So I'm sorry, I gotta laugh when people say he's sexist, and I gotta laugh when they said that it's so offending, because I'm sorry, I don't get that, and I'm a woman, I don't feel like that. And like what some people have said, schools teach us about sex ed, they teach us just safe sex, that's it. Brad teaches us that there's alternatives, and it's okay to have alternatives. He doesn't discriminate against people who have had sex outside of marriage or anything like that. So I would strongly advise that Brad come and speak, because it is an optional thing. You don't have to go to Brad if you don't want to listen to him. You don't have to. There's other options. So, like I said, I recommend him. Thank you.
Brittany, have you record your address?
I did.
Oh, you did over here. Okay, thank you. Okay, we just went up to the back. This gentleman,
Oh, you can tell. Oh, I can't tell. Oh, I can tell.
Alright, my name is Sean Flanagan. I just turned 20 a few weeks ago, but I first heard Brad Henning when I was in high school, my senior year, and I was impacted, to say the least. His message shared with all of us was spot on, and me nor any of my friends had anything to do with it. The power behind everything he talks about is real, it's true, it's raw, and I encourage everybody that hasn't seen him live or hasn't seen his talk at all to at least check him out on YouTube. He shares on a high schooler's and a young adult's level the importance of how to create a healthy relationship and how to refrain from the pressures of what we're all taught to do. And instead, he teaches how to act to keep away from a sinful relationship. But what I wanted to point out was what I read on the Tri-City Herald regarding Brad Henning and what he's considered, why he's considered to not be speaking. This, from my understanding, comes from a letter by Domestic Violence Services of Benton Franklin counties, and it says that he creates dangerous gender expectations and stereotypes. My thought is, what's dangerous about teaching kids to wait on getting physical in a relationship? The expectation and stereotype is to begin having sex before you even start dating. He's teaching the opposite, and honestly, what parent doesn't want their kid to hear that, no matter their sexuality? Also, they state, and quote, fails to involve information about what to do with their relationship is unsafe. Well, by definition, I looked up what safe means, and I found that it's to be free from hurt, to be free from risk, and denied the chance to do harm. Dependable and trustworthy. I think he teaches kids how to be safe, which in my opinion and experience with still a lot of life left to live is much more important. These are all qualities that he brings into his speech and teaches for a healthy relationship. I don't understand what information he focuses to give, or I don't understand what information he fails to give with his countless examples that he shares of real life true stories and how he personally helps victims of abuse through his emails, which he publicly shares and encourages people to contact if that is what they're involved in. I 100% support him and think that it shouldn't be a voluntary or mandatory.
Thank you. Sorry. Middle, right here at the end.
We should be sitting in the front.
Hello, so my name is Jessica Monray, and I am here as a woman and as a mother and as a member of the community. I'd like to first ask that I be allotted the 2.5 minutes that the person that preceded me was able to get, because some people are being cut off and others aren't. I would like to make a point that I just want to, because there's so much saying that he's not sexist or misogynistic or anything like that, I just want to read some of the things that I printed straight from his website that say things like, where is it? He talks about people dressing sleazy, women dressing sleazy. Why don't guys ask me out? It may be because you have a bad reputation, have an attitude that no guy wants to deal with, that you're boy crazy, that you dress too sleazy, and that nobody wants to be dating her. He does use the term slut in his speech, even though I have not been able to see him in person. I have been able to watch his videos on his website that he shares. On the For Boys Only, he gives them a wonderful list of wonderful romantic ideas of what you can do to take your girlfriend on a date. But on the For Girls Only, he lists awful awful, awful advice with no sort of scientific backing at all whatsoever about how much makeup you should wear and whether or not you should giggle, whether you should feel good about your grades and share them. Guys don't like girls who always need attention or who are going crazy or who don't play sports or who brag about their grades. He talks about girls who screech when they see their friends and girls who are overly sensitive, because that's not a stereotype, right? I mean, I am super disappointed that this is even a consideration for a public school setting and that there's not an alternative that is scientifically backed and that provides actual evidence for kids across the board, not just straight kids, but also anybody who's a member of the LGBTQ community in general, which he doesn't discuss. And I would also like to point out that he never discusses consent. Now, part of education is evolving with things that are happening, and over the last decade, rape on school campuses has been a big issue, and not once does he talk about what consent is or why it's important, and if he's giving this sort of speech, I would think that that was going to be included. And I really hope that you guys take this into consideration, because these are our kids that we're talking about, and I understand that some people brought up that there were no teenagers here advocating for him. If you walked away and felt offended and felt bad about what he said, you probably wouldn't be here either. And that's all I have to say.
You got your 2.5 minutes.
Thank
And I
you.
apologize if anybody thinks like I'm cutting you off. Because I honestly don't think I've been cutting anybody off very much, should be, because I said I'd keep it 1 minute. So I'm probably still going to let you do a couple things if you take that time. But I'm requesting for consideration for the board. We're here all night as it is. We have executive session after the meeting. And so if you can state your message in a minute, I'd appreciate it. Okay, I made my appeal. I'm going to go back here. Now I'm going to try calling in you again. You have to hurry up. Yes.
Hi, so my name is Samantha Pellin, and I went to a retreat with my youth group up to the Bar Ranch in Oregon, and I listened to Brad speak, and he was amazing. I was going through a really tough time with dating and all this. He told me that what I got from it is that it doesn't matter about your flaws. It doesn't matter if you're not a virgin or if you're a virgin. If God made someone special just for you, and if you can't find that person, then you shouldn't be worried. They should love you for who you are and not by if you're a virgin or not. You need to learn that God loves you and God's always there for you, and He won't leave you. If your future husband that you supposedly love so much, but if he doesn't love you back, then you shouldn't even be married to that person. You need to learn love by how God loves you. God shows a lot of love in the Bible. He doesn't leave you through your tough times. He's always there for you, and He won't leave you.
Several times. She talked about God love and blah, blah, blah. And that's why I said, there we go. There it is.
Thank you guys for your time. My name is Dana. I've lived in Kennewick my whole life, Hawthorne, Highlands, Southridge. And I've heard Brad speak. He spoke my sophomore year at Southridge, and it was awesome. And I'm going to cry, that's what I do. Hearing everyone, I want to talk about the word shame. Some of us, without sharing our stories, might be able to talk of a time that we felt shame from a relationship. And he is in the mission of preventing shame. That's a good thing. And those people who've gone to this and maybe felt that shame had this negative effect. And you know what? He wants to prevent it. I have 3 young children. I want these high schoolers to hear it, because they're about to go into the community. I'm a high school teacher. I graduate, I became a high school teacher. I teach my students this message. Okay, I don't care who you are
keep my
attracted
kids
to.
away from you
You
then.
need to hear the message. Okay? I want these youth today who are going to graduate, become high school teachers, or whatever professionals that they're going to become. I want them to share this message with my kid and back up my message that I'm sharing with my kid. I don't want my kid to feel shame. I don't want him to feel shame. Okay?
No. Sad.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi, my name is Jill Holthausen. I also was my student.
and it was an uncomfortable and unsettling experience for me. Most of the young men in the audience got very animated and were laughing and cheering and jeering, and most of the young women, including myself, laughed some, but I was very uncomfortable. The description that Mr. Henning gave of relationships, differences between men and women, and how we should handle sexual intercourse and relationships simply did not match my own experience, nor of many of the peers that sat around me. He relied on stereotypes of girls being sexual gatekeepers and boys being unable to control themselves when it came to sexual matters. I came out of the presentation feeling very strange, especially about my male peers who were expressing such agreement with Mr. Henning. I questioned what they truly thought of me and my other female peers. Did they really think that the easy girl always gets dumped, or that it was my job to not distract them with my sexuality? I'm a survivor of sexual assault. My worth, and whether or not I was lovable or not, was tied to whether or not I was pure, according to Brad Henning's message. I was being blamed for distracting boys. I did feel shame, and I shouldn't have had to. How you prevent shame is not by shaming people because of their sexual history. That doesn't, in some ways, in a very narrow definition, keeping people from having sex, so having to feel shame for sex, I suppose, does that, but not for the larger population. And for me, it was very, very harmful. Over 15 years later, I remember that discomfort. I remember feeling as if the school adults, who I otherwise thought of as trustworthy and safe, they must have believed, as Henning suggested, that I was somehow tainted or unlovable or had done something wrong. Looking back at his material as an adult, after I gained perspective and time and healing, I realized that his presentation created a hostile environment for protected classes of females. His presentation also completely leaves out the experience of the LGBT members of our community. And as that population has a higher risk of suicide and other harmful behaviors, I don't think that's necessarily what we want to put out there. And it certainly doesn't help us reach our safety goals as a district. Mr. Henning's premise is also underscored by an abstinence-only message. Abstinence-only sexual education is not allowed in Washington State, as it's neither inclusive nor research-based way to present to young people about how to be in a relationship. I ask that the board do the correct ethical and legal thing and remove Brad Henning as a presenter.
Yes, we're going to go back over to Jeff Henning.
That's where they just, yeah, I know. But she was on a, no, yeah, she was in the middle.
Hello everyone, my name is Matroda Valencia Relas. I am 17 and I am currently a junior in Chihuahua High School. And I first saw Brad actually saying here in January when I went to my group retreat. What he said pretty much was true. I play football, I play tennis, I walk down the halls in Chihuahua.
My name is Alyssa Ryle. I am a graduate of Kennewick High School. I am a graduate of WSU Pullman. I am an MA candidate, and I am also an adjunct instructor for Walla Walla Community College. I have seen Brad speak. From early childhood, parents and educators repeat to our children, do your best. I would like to consider that phrase in the context of upcoming presentations for Kennewick School District seniors. Brad Henning, one of the other presenters scheduled to speak on healthy relationships, has a controversial message, as we can see. To summarize concerns, many individuals consider his presentations outdated, exclusive rather than inclusive, and a reinforcement of harmful gender stereotypes, which I agree with. According to Henning's website, he has a Bachelor of Arts degree with no specialization listed. It is my opinion that a presentation on relationships should be written and presented by a professional with a relevant degree, such as psychology. Kennewick School District, is this doing your best to provide quality speakers? We are fortunate to live in a community with qualified professionals in a broad range of fields, with employees of WSU Tri-Cities, CBC, Trios Catholic, East Bay County Historical Society, PNNL, Hanford, and Battelle, just a phone call or email away. Is Brad Henning really the best choice? Graduates of Kennewick School District are living here, successful in their fields, and able to present on career choice, science, medicine, criminal justice, history, the arts, relationships, higher education, and so on. How many local professionals did you contact before choosing to look beyond our incredible community and outsourcing for a paid speaker? So, Kennewick School District, did you do your best when you approved Henning? If we expect this of our children, we should expect it of our schools. And furthermore, citizens such as myself should not have to come here and prove that his presentation is inappropriate, or as some people think that it is appropriate. The burden of proof should be on KSD to explain the educational benefit of Henning and why he's qualified to speak on relationships and why he is the best choice from the West Side instead of someone local here. So I'd like to know what local institutions you approached, what local teachers, and what local grads that are professionals. Thank you.
Awesome. Woo!
Thank you. My name is Jane Schmetzer. I am the priest at All Saints Church in Richland, Washington. I am not a Kennewick resident, but a lot of my parishioners are. And it was their concerns about this presentation that had me spending an inordinate amount of time on Mr. Henning's website and looking him up and researching all of this, listening to the concerns about his presentation, listening to the people who believe that his message is solid and those who don't. What I saw on his website disturbed me as the parent of a daughter who should certainly be responsible for her own behavior, but should not be responsible for her boyfriend.
Yes.
It concerned me as the parent of a son who I am raising to be responsible for his own behavior. It concerned me as a taxpayer, although not in your district, because I believe that anybody participating in a required educational day ought to have the appropriate qualifications. I presume somebody who's teaching how to prepare a resume or a cover letter has learned how to do that and has that information to share from a professional background. We spend a great deal of our tax dollars on highly qualified teachers and educators to do the work that they do. As the previous speaker pointed out, Mr. Henning has a bachelor's degree of unspecified origin, but he is not, so far as I can determine, a health science professional or sociologist or a mental health professional or a counselor to be conveying this information to our students on, even though it's an optional choice, on a required school day. Thank you.
In real life, I've even walked up and talked to him in person. I never once felt shame, or did he ever shame anyone, or as people comfortable and safe. Have to teach sex ed on pure facts, and that goes with everything. If you teach about real love, relationships, and friendships, Brad Henning, it's false. I love listening to something you can own or play with.
I don't know. I just think it's really crazy that we have to have a debate, and we're gonna make a guy who obviously has a major impact in kids' life. If any of you have teenagers, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they don't talk to you, but I talk to teenagers all the time. If you have an LGBT kid, have them come talk also, because guess what? Our seniors are adults. Just let them go listen to what they want to. They're adults. Listen to and actually, I really think that anybody who hasn't heard him speak really shouldn't be speaking, because you don't know what you try to make people be quiet when it really has a benefit for our kids. And I really, really, really want to go on the let the seniors pick what they want to do. Let the seniors. One doesn't want to go, great, right? They don't have to. Or another speaker, and then the other ones who don't want to go there don't have to do.
Resident for 30 plus years. All three of my offspring are Kennewick High graduates. Families of this
community. I've delivered some of the babies of some of the teens of this community, so I care that our teens get. We've heard a lot about feelings. Well, I feel so good about Brad Henning. Are in study after study after study over the last 20 years, study after study after study shows that abstinence-based and STDs. Thank you.
Name a study.
This is to anyone who asked.
You guys can talk afterwards if you'd like to get. Yeah, I'll go there. You guys. Not talk.
Good evening, thank you for letting us speak. My name is Faith Benson. I'm also a part-time teacher and a mother of high school girls. Actually, one's off to college now. Because really what it comes down to is your interpretation of what you're hearing from this speaker. It is your perception, and everyone is entitled to their own perception. Some truth falls on deaf ears. Period. He is on the list. You don't have to choose it. Let's set those up as well. Let's take care of the people next to us and move on. That is what love looks like. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jade Nolan, and I'm 14, and I'm a freshman at Riverview High School. Yes, I may not be a part of the Kennewick district, but I have personally seen Brad. After a while, everybody keeps telling me that, I started to believe that. But then after my dad signed me up to go about all of this, and my dad never told me anything, he never wanted to talk to me, and Brad Henning's like a father figure, you know? He'll tell you the things you need to know about relationships, either you're gay or not. But it just makes me mad that people just don't give him a chance. Like, if you don't want to listen to him, like she said, like, we have choices to choose if you want to listen to Brad or not. Just, if you don't feel like listening to him, just don't force him to not come. Let him come, say what he needs to say, and then be on with your lives. It's just...
Did you sign up? You need to go down.
Hi everybody, my name is Alexis. I am a coach for Columbia Burbank School District. And I just wanted to bring a little perspective into this debate. A lot of those who are in support of Mr. Henning's message seem religious youth camp, and that's great. That message worked. I was labeled as one of those town sluts. When we watched his presentation, we decided this was what we were listening to, and we decided to get up. Mr. Henning could have just let us get up, but instead he decided to make an example of me and my friends. Sluts. This is inappropriate. This is not okay for a public school setting. I really hope you do your due diligence and look into who you're inviting to speak to our...
Is there anybody in this other group over here, third quarter of the room? Okay, no. We're back over here. Anybody in this side? This gal, yes.
Hi, my name is Sandra Thebe, and I'm a mother with 2 that are out of high school and a couple that are still going to be going through high school. And coming from the perspective of a parent that my daughter didn't always necessarily see the example of a good relationship in the home. I was a mother at 16. She didn't get that example at home. I made the same, you know, how patterns repeat themselves, I'll just say. However, she didn't get that example at home, but hearing from it possibly in school, she may have had the chance to at least information. I would just say that she's 20 years old. She doesn't have children. she hasn't made very good decisions. And a lot of it is based on, I guess, what I've taught her as a mother about relationships. And a lot of those students, there's many students out there that don't have those parents that have learned at my age how hard it was, and it pass that information on down to their children. So the only place they're going to get it is from a man like Brad Henning. If they're not getting it at home, they need to be getting it somewhere. And his message is about love. Thank you.
Oh, did you sign up on this as well? We didn't see your name on.
I will say this, I'm a free speech guy. If this is a funding issue for any of you people, I will pay the bill.
Okay, any of the other ones, oh, there's one back right here. Oh, God. I know, I will end up censoring on the censors. I'm sorry. Catherine.
Hi, my name is Aspen. I came in a little bit late, but I heard Brad speak, and he just really speaks truth about what goes on in high school and like what's really going through kids' heads. And I just want to stand up for that because I feel like a lot of the education that they put forward for anyways, so go for that. But after hearing him talk, I wasn't going to settle. Like, one of the things he talks about your future spouse, so.
But there are a number of aspects of his presentations that I feel pretty confident are against the law. And I've seen a copy of an ACLU letter that agrees with that. He brings up God, as a number of folks have mentioned a fair number of times in his presentations. That would be a First Amendment violation and would leave the school district open to a lawsuit, I'd be afraid. And similarly, the issue that was raised earlier in which his information that he provides isn't always scientifically and medically based, which is required by state law. So those are the two concerns that I'd like to raise. And again, the ACLU did kind of weigh in on that and provide that as information, I think, to this board.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, my name is Carly Coburn, and I'm a resident of Pasco. Washington state law requires, as of 2008, that every public school that offers sexual health education must assure the sexual health education is medically and scientifically accurate, age appropriate, and inclusive of students regardless of gender, race, disability status, or sexual orientation. However, LGBT students are 5 times more likely to find their sex ed information online, and according to the GLSEN 2013 National School Climate Survey, they found that fewer than 5% of LGBT students had health classes that included positive representation of LGBT topics. The GLSEN survey also reported that only 12% of millennials had a sexual health education class that even covered same or similar gender relationships. I'm a bisexual millennial, and my sex ed classes never even mentioned or acknowledged LGBT people. To them, I did not exist. I am one of those LGBT individuals who had to learn about my sexual health online. I read advice that wasn't factual, that was exaggerated, and some things that were outright dangerous. None of it was age appropriate, and I had no adult at home or school that I felt like I could trust. LGBT youth are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than their straight peers, and 1 of 6 LGBT students, grades 9th through 12th, considered suicide in 2016. One way we can reduce this is by having an inclusive sexual education. When heterosexual and cisgender students learn how diverse gender and sexuality can be, they become more accepting of their LGBT peers. More acceptance means less bullying. And since every episode of bullying, whether physical or verbal, raises the likelihood of an LGBT student behaving in self-harm by 2.5%, we cannot afford to have a non-inclusive, abstinence-only sex education. LGBT students deserve a sex ed that has positive examples of LGBT people, romantic relationships, and families. We need to emphasize how important protection during sex is to people of all genders and sexual orientations. All students deserve science-based and medically factual sexual health education, and that includes your LGBT students. Thank you.
My name is Johnny Martin, and I am a Kennewick resident with a child who graduated from Kennewick High School. The main thing that I have the biggest issue with about Brad Henning's, and it sounds like we have two different Brad Hennings. What he publishes on his website seems to be different than what he is, the talks that he's giving to these children. Why would he have two different things? I don't understand that. Because on his website, he does completely remove responsibility for a male's action towards a female. It's the woman's fault. Are all of you parents, maybe not you, are all of you parents, would you like your child, male or female, to renege their responsibility to how they act as I just can't help it? That's what a 3-year-old does. That's a 3-year-old, right. That's what a 3-year-old does. When you have a 14, 15, 16, 18-year-old child, a male, Brad Henning is telling them it's natural for you to think this way and act this way. I'm not so concerned about how they think, how they act bothers me. And he is giving them permission to act misogynistically against women. I'm sure all these young ladies that came up and talked, and a few young men came up and talked about how he helped them with their relationships. That's great. I love that. What his website says is males are not responsible for their actions. All of you are parents. Please do not let this man teach these boys that they're not responsible for their actions. That is rape culture. This is so upsetting to me that this is even being considered, and that this man has been teaching boys for years, decades apparently. I don't even know how long he's been here. He's teaching girls that it's their fault if they get raped. He's teaching them that. And that the woman that was talking about shame, nobody should feel shame for being raped. Nobody. I don't care what she's wearing, where she was, what she drank, nothing. He's teaching them that that's the way of the world. Nobody has any, we're animals. Thank you.
Did you sign up? I didn't see
I will.
Okay.
Over here?
Yes, go. A new name, a new hand.
My name is John Logan. I'm not on the list either. I'll get on it. Tell me what is good and what is evil. There's the issue of facts that someone brought up. The fact is, Brad Henning has a relationship with Kennewick School District as far as the district goes. And he wasn't asked, as far as what I've gathered from the presentation. And it's not because of content that he was asked not to come back. It was due to changing and testing. So you guys know it's not the content of what he's talking about. I can speak on that. I've been in that situation with youth ministry, sitting through what he taught the boys directly in one-on-one workshop. He taught our boys that the main thing when you're dating a girl is to make her feel safe. That's the main thing when you're dating a girl. Make her feel safe, make her feel special. Treat her because she's somebody else's wife. She's not promised to you. Because your future wife is out there and is equal too. And you want the guy that dates her to treat her as such. So those are just a few of the things that he taught the boys. And as we're going through these things, me as a leader sitting back and watching this, I'm like, dang, this guy's pretty good. I'm taking notes on this stuff too. And it helped me with my relationship with my wife and my family. So, please consider what history you have, because that's a fact that you guys can lean on. You have a history with him already. So, that's all I have.
Always done. Wait, big eye.
Hello, my name is Sylvia Card. I go to NCP. I tend to keep my myself in front of a lot of people, so I'm gonna do that now. So, you are all saying, well, some of you are saying that you need facts, that all these like things that you're reading are like, I don't know. But I see what we're saying as teenagers that have seen him and have been influenced by him as facts.
No.
And
no.
I don't know if you all see that way, but
No, it's not.
I do. And also the people that are reading the website are reading it to look for things that are negative, I think. Some of them are. And yeah, that's all I have to say. No.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Goulet, and I went to Kennewick High, graduated in '95. I live in Pasco now. I wasn't going to speak tonight. I was just back there recording. And normally I don't like to use anecdotal evidence or say, well, my experience is, therefore it is. But while I never went to one of Brad Henning's presentations, thank goodness, I grew up in that culture. I grew up going to private religious school. Those were the exact messages given to me in those schools. And I can tell you that it set me up for 15 years of a very terrible marriage. The things that I internalized and was taught were the exact opposite of what a healthy relationship should be. I have 2 daughters. They're both teenagers now. And I'm divorced for one from that person because I did not want them to suffer in a marriage that was so unhealthy and painful, because I want better for them than I had for me. And so I have gone to great lengths to make sure that the message that Brad Henning sends never reaches them. Unfortunately, in the culture, it does. I would like to mention several people have said that they can't talk to their parents about sex, and my daughters have no problem with it. Sometimes I'm like, oh, do you mind? I don't know that, and that's probably still my hang-ups, because I've been working through those and probably will till the day I die. And I'm so glad that they don't go to Kennewick High, and of course all the high schools in this area seem to have been bringing them around for 20 to 30 years, because the last place I want them to be exposed to the thing that I've tried to protect them from for 13 and 17 years is to be exposed to that at school, where they're supposed to be around adults that they trust and that have authority and knowledge. And I hate to say it, but some of the people here who are teachers who support this, can you wear a badge? Because I want to say, I don't want my kid in your class. And you know what? For all of you who love his message and feel that helped you, I am so sorry for you that you have been harmed, okay? I'm sorry, and I hope that you can heal someday. Please do not bring this man into our community anymore. Set a good example for the other schools in the Tri-Cities and around, everywhere, that this is inappropriate. It is state-sponsored psychological abuse of minors. Please do not bring him. Thank you.
Oh, we got someone else. Oh,
Sure.
the back.
Yes, you're jumping up and
Just
down.
barely above the seat. So I have 3 boys and a daughter. I have 3 boys, graduated 8. My name's Kat Ollie. I'm from Kennewick, and I have 3 children that have graduated from Kennewick High School and a daughter that is a senior this year. So I'm very invested in this discussion. So I have 3 boys that have all listened to Brad Henning, and then 3 boys and then a daughter. And I want my daughter to know you are valued, you are important, and that my friends have been taught to respect you. And so on the way here, I called my boys and I said, what do you remember about Brad Henning? 2 of them said that you respect girls, you honor them, and you treat them well. I have not felt the need to look at his website, so I really don't know what he said, because I know when my boys came home, they were better, different, and good people. And that's how I want my daughter to be treated. That's what my boys were taught. I wasn't out there looking for negative information, but I know what my boys felt and what they have become, and they're fine gentlemen. And I think Brad made a difference with that. Thank you.
Okay, where do I have hands still? Yes, baseball cap.
Oh yeah, I love my phone. So, Tristan Melendez. I go to Kennewick, I'm a junior. I honestly don't understand why people say his teaching is psychologically damaging. I don't get that, honestly, and I was like, to get that explained. But anyways, I was a part of one of his conferences, whatever you want to call it. But honestly, all these people saying that he teaches us that boys don't have, that we're not responsible for our actions, or that it's the girls' fault. That's not what I got out of it at all. He taught us how to treat women, how to treat them right, how to be respectful, and just how to treat them in a way and manner that we would want somebody else to treat our daughter or our sister. And you know, it's appalling to me how people think that through his website or whatever, they can pull whatever they want out of that. I haven't seen it, but it doesn't make any sense to me how people can think that this is psychologically damaging. But I mean, I keep bringing that up because I don't know what that means. I did not get psychologically damaged by this at all. I actually pulled a lot of stuff out of this, and I truly respect and appreciate women more for it. Thank you. Gigi.
Hello, my name is Scott Edwards. I'm a parent of 2 teenage boys. One's a junior at Kennewick and one's a junior at Delta. I came here, and I'm an engineer by training, so I tend to like to see, I don't like the anecdotal evidence that's being promoted here. It appears to me to be more of a teaching of outdated gender roles, the kind of thing that I grew up in West Virginia back in the 1980s, and growing up in some of the communities that have come out very much in favor of him. That's not really what I want the school to be endorsing. Would it be possible to get those slides back up to one of the other schools' listings of what the events and activities are on April 15th? Because I'm looking at it from a perspective of, okay, if I'm going to go in and look on this day, boy, what am I going to want to do this day? Am I going to go to assembly where I can listen to one of the most humorous and engaging speakers we've ever had? Or do I want to do AP test prep? Or do I want to go to academic support and tutoring? Or financial literacy information? I think it's pretty obvious what almost every student's going to pick here. So it's very clear to me that we're using my taxpayer dollars and everything to endorse this. Because I know when I was 17, 18 years old, I would be going to the assembly because I didn't have to do anything but sit there, listen, and hopefully be entertained. And so I'm very concerned that the way that this is presented, that's what everybody's going to be doing, and it's clearly the message that's being communicated by the Kennewick School District, that this is what we believe. It's because it's a mandatory day. You don't have to go to that one, but come on. But anyway.
Gotta love those engineers. I know. And the doctors.
So I'm going to read directly off his website. I'm confused why it's okay for a middle-aged man to ask a room full of women and talk to them about why guys like big boobs. Would you like any of your teachers to talk to your students about breasts? Specifically about what guys think of them? Would that be okay? Would that teacher probably be reprimanded? That's just the only thing that I would like to ask.
Not to mention the whole lesbians exist for men's pleasure thing. That's right, I forgot about that one.
Howdy everyone, my name's Fisher. Do I have to give off my last name? No, I'm not. Yes, I will. Alright, my name is Fisher. I'd just like to point out, whoever was the one, well actually I do know who it is, I'm not going to say, but the one who said that it is against the First Amendment to mention, I believe it's God, that he said? It is only against the First Amendment if you're trying to convert, and we are not trying to convert here. Also, I'd like to say, I love you, Bobby. You're awesome. And just, everyone has their own opinion about things, so seriously, guys, this is really dumb. This honestly is. People can go to what they want, let the guy come, go to something else. That's all I have to say.
Except I don't want to live in a society where those people are existing.
Yeah, right.
Hello, my name is Andrew Hinton. I'm really nervous right now, by the way, so if my heart comes on my chest, just give me negatives. But I fully support Brad Henning. Someone mentioned that he is exclusive, and someone else also mentioned that pretty much everyone that's spoken in favor of him has gone to a youth retreat, and that it has worked for us. Yes, that is true. It does work for us. And in including everyone, I think that we need to have Brad Henning in order to include us. So it's just makes sense. And I need to sign it. So.
Yeah. Wow.
Hi, my name is Kate Moran, and I've just been listening to everybody, and it seems like there's some people that really like him, and there's some people who've read his website and really don't like him and what he says on his website, and maybe have seen him in person but don't like what he said in person. I feel that if taxpayers' dollars, or if the school is sponsoring it all, even without taxpayer dollars going towards it, if there is this many people that disagree with what he's saying should be in front of their students, I think that the best solution is the people that want to hear it have a private event for him, as has been done, I'm assuming, because I've heard about it, but for the school to present something a bit more not as contentious from a speaker that perhaps has the ability to speak to all in a scientific manner. I just feel like for justice reasons, that should be something extremely considered in this matter.
Thank you.
Any others that I've overlooked? Not everybody? If you're raising your hand, I don't see it. So at this point, I'm going to close the floor. So what this means is that when the board gets into the discussion point, we are not going to entertain more input from the floor. We've done that in the past, and that really gets into a crazy environment. So we're going to keep this somewhat structured. You guys all know this is an emotional subject for a number of people. We've seen it, so we want to be respectful of that as well. And the board, I'm sure, because we work very well together in that capacity, will maintain that. So at this point, board discussion. I have something. I've been taking notes as we're going along. I want to thank everybody who did speak, because some folks are not so comfortable, and everybody was very articulate, and everybody seemed very respectful throughout the whole process. There was a comment about this wouldn't have come to the board if it had not been for it being a makeup session, and I want to make a comment about that because that's absolutely true. What I've realized in this whole process is we have a very mature process for adopting curriculum. And what we do is we go through a process, it takes several months to actually adopt textbooks where there are parents' involvement, community member involvement, teachers' involvement. And as the board knows, and I'm really speaking to us because I'm reminding us that we have this for the curriculum, but we don't vet this kind of thing. And this is the first time I've ever heard that this guy's coming to this district, to be honest. And I have 3 boys who heard him, who I also queried. So I just want to ask ourselves, we might want to consider after tonight having some kind of a process in place. I don't want to be in this environment if I think this is not worth the time that we put into the district and our own personal times and investment. We should have a process to surround this so that we don't have to spend these kind of hours vetting something that should have already been vetted somehow. And so that's just input for Dave for the future.
I think it's good input, but I don't think it's going to prevent it. Anytime you challenge the community, there's going to be those that agree with you and not. And so I think we are going to have these kind of meetings. I think it's great. People showed up both sides. Community
What if you just follow the law?
You give me feedback that I didn't have before. And I think we do need to take topics like this head on. Bring it on to us. That's why we're here. And we're here and we'll make a decision tonight. And sorry, somebody's going to go back not happy. But I understand what you're saying also. We should plan for it.
So what my point was, excuse me, as a media, I'm trying to come back. The point that I was making with it is that we've had controversial materials in curriculum that didn't make it through the vetting process because the process works and it allows for community members and whatnot. Ultimately, the curriculum does come to the board for approval. And we've asked, has that process been executed and has the community weighed in? And when it has been controversial, we've dealt with it, but it doesn't turn into this kind of a big, huge, sensational, newsworthy activity, if you recall. So I'm just pointing that out. Okay.
So, and I think I would definitely appreciate the perspective you're coming from, but I think anytime you're going to have, I mean, it'd be great if we could plan to that degree, but I tend to agree with Ron's comments that this is the process. Our opportunity to hear from the public, which is tremendous. I mean, everyone with the courage to come up and speak in this very open setting, very intimidating for a lot of people, and to get your input and to get both sides of the issue, whether it's in the situation of a speaker or curriculum adoption or naming a field or club policy, any of the things that we've been down those roads with in recent years and distant years. This is the process. And so to the extent that we can have a mechanism in place in advance, great, but at the same time, we are equipped to make these decisions based on the information that we can from the public. And so as time consuming as it can be, and clearly all of you dedicated your time to be here with us tonight as well, I think that this will be a process that we'll have it more management.
Well, okay, I would disagree. This is not the way we do the curriculum process. This is the way, what we did with this, if you look at the last couple of weeks, it appears, is we went, made a selection and cut a contract with a speaker that's going to be controversial in our community. That is not what we do with our curriculum. We don't just go and adopt something and then throw it out there and hope we get a bunch of community input. We actually have a community review of the curriculum prior to adopting it.
Right.
So this isn't
That I
a
know.
process.
But
That's an
I would suspect that it's because of the decade of non-controversial presentations made by
That's-
Mr. Henning that administration felt comfortable cutting a contract because it's never been.
That's the point that I'm making, is because it hasn't ever been brought to our attention, and the awareness became more astute as soon as it was letters sent home saying we have this humorous engaging. I would just suggest that we consider some kind of a process for getting these in the future.
So in terms of discussion of the merits of the question, no motion's been made, but, so I heard a lot of different positions, obviously, and I've been thinking about this ever since reading all of the emails, and I looked at the website myself, so I familiarized myself with what, whoa. I didn't know that would exist. Good, now I'm anonymous. With what Mr. Henning has chosen to put on his website. And the one thing I want to make real clear from where I sit is that this isn't about a winning side and a losing side to this debate. What I see in this particular example is that we created a mechanism to allow the graduation date to stay on June 3rd. And in doing that, we committed to making up some Saturdays for seniors. And in doing that, we agreed to put together a program that was low impact to the district because we couldn't compel teachers to come out and teach. And so we looked for ways to make those days have meaning for students and meet the OSPI requirements so that seniors could graduate on time. And we went with a speaker who had history with the district and hadn't been identified as a controversial speaker in the past. And in doing that, we found out that times have changed, the communities have changed, perspectives have changed, and now there is a group of individuals who have been very vocal about Mr. Henning. And it's created a tremendous distraction for the district. And so I don't see this as whatever decision we make being an affirmation to a particular camp or a particular position. This is, we need to deal with the fact that we have now got the situation that's very distracting to the district and has become controversial and taken away a lot of energy from the other things we need to do to get done. So I heard a lot of comments through the public comment tonight about the things that Mr. Henning would speak to, things about encouraging women not to feel shame, the idea about what love really means, the idea of what a relationship is, and those are great messages. And I don't think there's anyone on this board who would disagree with the power and impact of those types of messages. My particular concern is I wouldn't want to advocate or continue any perception of some of the stereotypes that I personally read on the website. So I do believe that those are good messages. What is love all about? What is a true meaningful relationship? All of those types of messages, which I think really come out of the family, and I think have other places in the community where you can get that same type of input. I just have concerns about that being the focus of something that the school district would be promoting as a platform, because of how that message is delivered. And I don't pass any judgment on anybody's personal experiences with Mr. Henning. It's purely what I observed on the website. Some of those very stereotypical gender identifications for men and women were troubling to me. I have a boy and I have a girl. Granted, they're very young yet. But as they grow, my expectation will be that they demonstrate appropriate behaviors because I have taught them to. And I won't look to anybody else to instruct them, maybe to shore up some of that instruction that comes from the family. But that'll come from the family and from other avenues in our personal life that aren't necessarily school. So it's not the message, it's the way it's communicated that I personally am passionate about. So at this point, I'm inclined to suggest that we, and to the extent that it creates legal ramifications, we'll just have to deal with it. But to the that we disinvite this particular speaker for this particular Saturday.
And I guess I want to speak on the other side. In that, to me, I've listened to a lot of speakers. And most of the time, there are things about that speaker that I like and agree with. And at the same time, the same speaker, there are things that I disagree with. And that leads to good discussion for me. And even if I approach the speaker, I would question, why did you say that? Or what do you mean by that statement? But at the same time, I think we're allowed to hear what's been said. And I think there's some point, if we never heard this guy and he's thinking this way, how alarming would that be? He's out there in the world giving a speech that we never hear.
Good.
Because we choose not to listen to it here. Now we hear it, and if you're against it, here's your opportunity to tell the world, hey, this Henning guy is not saying the right thing. So I think you should allow free speech. I think we should hear what he has to say, and if it's bad, or we deem it as bad, tell the world. If you think it's good, tell the world it's good. But you've heard it. It's not in secret. It's not behind doors. It's out there. And our young people are entering the world. They're going to hear good and bad.
They don't need to hear it at school.
I would only comment that out of absolute respect for that position, I don't know that it is the viewpoint that we want to have. So, and this idea of let them, let's hear what he has to say, and if we deem it to be bad, then say so. I think half the room has said so.
And half the room said,
But they didn't hear it, from what I understand, they didn't hear it necessarily, and it wasn't necessarily a student-sponsored environmental.
well, we have had it at the school.
Yes, we have, Britt, okay.
Right?
Yes.
So it's been in the world environment.
It's never been brought to our attention before, so this is the first time we've discussed this one. But to be quite honest, I want to make sure that what we provide in our education system is something that's comfortable for all students. And it shouldn't be where, if you're not comfortable going, don't go. That's not the kind of material that I want everyone to feel about their learning experience in Kennewick School District. I would not like to know that students left our district graduating feeling sad inside their hearts because they felt targeted. And to be honest, I've never heard of this guy, even though some of my sons allegedly went, unless they skipped that day. They're all graduated, they all have positivity, so they can say they skip.
Are you cheating if folks that went and felt good? They're not going to have the opportunity to go and feel good.
What I was going to suggest is that if there is a gentleman in the audience who said he would pay for it, I would suggest he pay for it, take it to a local church or youth group and offer that as a venue, but I personally will not support this as a school district curriculum.
Thank you.
Okay. I guess I don't want to beat it to death, but you just say you're not changing your mind, so the discussion is over. But for you, okay, so I talked to everybody. But I think the discussion can't just end that cold-hearted. I think we have enough people in the community, and I'm speaking for everybody, the pros and the cons, that we really need to give it a good debate. I really appreciate your point of view. You did an excellent job, a great job of stating your point of view. And I understand where you're coming from. But I think we're going to, like I said, half the room is going to leave out of here thinking that we are not represented. So we really need to give a clear explanation on why we think the school should have this speaker come, because he's not saying what we want to say. That, to me, that's amendment violation. We're not having him at the school because we don't like what he's saying. Not to the point that he's stating something that we need to discuss. If we had one of our state representatives come and speak to our students, he's going to say something that the Democrats don't like, or the Republicans won't like. Do we not invite him or her? They're political figures. You want to hear what they have to say, and from that message, you take from the message what is good for you, and what's not, you leave.
No, I think that there's a little difference between a senator and where this individual gets personal.
Senator get personal?
Well,
Yeah, how'd that work out for Mary Di when she got personal?
I didn't know anything about him when I went out to his webpage.
Yeah, and you don't ask teenagers if they're virgins in the legislature.
Is not something that I think our school district has been, embracing and widely promoted. And especially where it's really, there are people who have had experiences with this individual who felt really bad afterwards. I don't know that.
Some that feel really good. And we cheated them out of feeling really good.
Things come back.
should anyone come in and make this feel really good?
I would challenge you to find anyone that could present a message of any impact that isn't offensive to someone.
Yeah.
And if we're going to be afraid to hear a viewpoint that we disagree with, we're never going to be exposed to enough information to make rational and informed decisions. I don't think that having somebody come and present information that is their opinion is a bad thing if, for one, this person has a track record of eliciting positive responses from the majority of people who receive the message. I'm not saying that it's the perfect message or that it's the right message for everyone. But nobody's going to have a message that's the right message for everyone.
In his own head.
And I would probably feel very different if this was a mandatory thing. But because it's not, I feel that provides everyone with the opportunity to make their choice. If it's a message that they're not comfortable with, then there are alternatives.
So look how we advertise this.
I agree, and with the individual who identified it, because I identified it for myself during the presentation. It's really not much in the way of options.
Well, Kennewick only had one other, and that was the ID preparedness, although they're gonna have more, but that's what went out to the.
And we could add more to this. And I
What about a
agree, it
circus?
seems slated towards Brandon, and as far as interest goes, but it does give 3 other options that if a person is very strongly against them, they can do it.
Oh, so just punish him for being rational.
One other point.
Just go sit in the corner.
I'll shut up after this. A lot of our seniors are going off to college. You get on a college campus, almost nightly there's a speaker, and they have a choice to go
That's
to these
college.
speakers and hear what they have to say. These young minds being formed, but people that the parents don't even get to talk to or see. And they have that right to go and listen to that and take from it what he or she may. It seems to me that we're sending seniors out there on their last steps that we're going to interfere with their lives. And we're saying, you know, we're going to make this choice for you. We're not going to let you make this choice. You're not there yet. But we're going to let you go to college next year at UW, and they have all kinds of speakers. But this year, not quite ready for it.
See, I agree with what you're both saying in terms of expose people to different ideas and use the educational environment to promote dialogue, to explore different concepts. All of that's absolutely valid. My concern is with a particular mechanism by which that message is communicated here. His messages of valuing relationships, what love really is, and treating people, with without not allowing a woman to feel shamed and all those things that we heard. My hang-up is with the very stereotypical approach to boys and girls that he relies upon in order to communicate that message. I don't think that I don't think that I would want my daughter to be subjected to those types of stereotypical comments.
So you wouldn't send you?
Well, no, I would not.
So
But she probably won't be an AP. No offense, Madison. Well, I don't know, I don't want to create hypotheticals and say that it would necessarily change my opinion, because I do still believe that there's a way to communicate these messages that maybe don't have that same stereotypical influence. Because I'm not disagreeing with the message, I'm just disagreeing with the method by which it's delivered, because I do think it perpetrates this kind of ongoing, and as an attorney working in a courtroom, I get this from judges, I get this from other male attorneys. Hey, honey, being naked, blah, 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 on this case, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's just not appropriate, and it continues to be pervasive in a community that by now should be more professional. And so we're still confining the gender roles into you're a girl and your duty is to make sure that the man is made to feel prideful, and what was it? A man's gonna not stop and ask for directions because he's too prideful, but women are all about relationships and communication and talking and drama and giggling. I mean, that kind of stuff when you're a woman can be quite offensive. And so it's not about the message that's promoted, it's about the mechanism through which it's communicated. And it's just disheartening that something that was intended to be a way to allow seniors to graduate on time has exploded into this very controversial, distracting issue for the district. And so if you're going to have speakers come, then I think that there should at a minimum be a balance, because I don't think that this actually represents a lot of real options. You can say that there's 4 choices here, but I think the reality of these seniors is they're not going to think B, C, and D are real choices. And then if they feel like, well, it's a mandatory day, I've got to do something, I guess I'll choose this. For the one example of the woman who got up to try to lead the assembly and got heckled for it by him. What is that? I wouldn't want to think that our students are going to feel spotlit because they decided this message isn't for me and I'm not going to stay. And on the way out, they're going to be accused of being exactly the stereotype that he's advocating. I personally struggle.
One of the things that I've heard repeatedly tonight that is disappointing to me is it seems that talking about maybe highlighting differences between men and women is we're lumping that together with highlighting bad behaviors and somehow justifying them, mixing them into a salad and justifying bad behavior and saying, well, we'll just cover this all with the umbrella of the word stereotype. I think that we're doing our youth a disservice today when we try to shelter them from the fact that there are differences between men. It's confusing, I think, to youth to be told that there aren't differences. And I'm not promoting that we say, well, these differences result in these bad behaviors and therefore bad behaviors are justified. And I don't think that's the message. I think that maybe some are afraid that that would be the message, but I haven't seen evidence of that.
I went through a lot of detail on his webpage, and a lot of words in favor of him here tonight are not consistent with what he has on his webpage. One discussion I had before coming into the board meeting was that this man has done himself a disservice with his own webpage. But that's some of the input we have to go on. I've never heard of him before, and so that was my first spot of reference, was that before the emails started to show.
Okay, I lied about not saying anything else. I am going to say that, Heather, I hear what you're saying, but I think we missed some messages also from part of the audience saying that you treat women special, you make them feel safe, and that came from the same speaker that you identified the other items with. We completely missed the positive, and that happens with a speaker. You capture what you identify with, or what hits you, and what you want to do. When I go to hear a speaker, I want to hear the challenge to what I'm already presently thinking. Tell me, how can I improve upon what I'm thinking, or solidify what I'm thinking? And I think that's what we're selling our seniors short on. The fact that they have that capability, take the message and take what is identifiable to them and what's going to make them better. We gotta allow that speaker to exist, or they won't grow. They're only gonna hear what they want to hear over and over again. Everything that's what they already believe. There's no challenge to my belief. Hey, I can't hear that speaker. He's not saying what I want to say, or she's not saying what I want to hear. So I'm not gonna go here. I don't want it to be an option. I only want the option to be what I believe in. And to me, they're missing out. There's some contrary thoughts out there that, hey, you could be wrong. Hey, it's nice to hear that someone's going to protect you on a date, or going to treat you like a queen.
Yeah, maybe I should.
And the guys, it's nice to know that the spouse or the person that you're going to do a life with is supporting you. Now, do you have to be a slave to that person? No. But from what I saw on the clips, and I didn't see the whole thing, I saw clips, he was talking about a partnership in a relationship. And I'd like to hear what our student representative, not to put you on the spot.
No. I do think that he should be speaking at our school. Let me take that back. I believe in his message, and I think that it's think it's a very good one, but there are people out there who didn't like what he had to say, and to have that as an option in our school for people for them to go into an experience of leaving, and not be sad or be hurt or emotionally damaged. That I don't think that's something that kind of school district should be offering as a option for. I mean, we've heard all of these people speak, and I don't think that it's a very wise option because it's just not very good for their business.
So Ron, when you look at the website, you look at his list of for girls and for boys. So did you notice in the girls listing there were 7 things a girl could do to be a better girlfriend, and there was no companion sort of critique of the men and how they could make themselves better in a relationship with the woman. So, and I hate to point out
And the
divide
turnoffs.
here,
There were
but
no
on the one
turnoffs
side
for
you see
girls.
two females, and on the other side you see 3 males, but we don't know how you're gonna look at that. So maybe it's a very, maybe it's just something that's a little more, when you lived it, it's a little more sensitive to you. And so I make no apology for my position, but I definitely feel very strongly that you shouldn't perpetrate or propagate those types of stereotypes about men and women. I don't think that's the role of our district.
Nope. Exactly.
Well, so we shouldn't have any speakers. If we're gonna solely go on the role of our district, that's all we.
I didn't hear what you said.
We should not have any speakers.
Oh, okay, you're
Because
right.
anytime you have a
No
speaker.
speakers for now.
That's fair enough? No, anytime you have a speaker, you're gonna have pros and cons of what that speaker is saying. If you can have a speaker telling you how to do a math problem, and half the class gonna say, I don't like the way you did that math problem. That is so the way my parents told me to do it. No, listen. Okay, you're cutting me off, which you're not supposed to do to each other.
I understand.
Okay, so what I'm saying is the parents, in my example, and it's not perfect, I just pulled that out of my, you know where, but what I'm trying to say is that any time that you have a speaker, and I know I said this before, I don't care what the topic is, there's gonna be disagreement. And Heather, I've listened to speakers that offended the heck out of me. Absolutely, but I've also heard things from that speaker that made me a better person.
And I think there are certain, agreed, and I think depending on what the environment is and the age of the recipient of the information, context in which it's delivered, all of that will impact the good and the bad that come from that experience. But it's to me, and I know this sounds extreme, but it's just a way to describe at a much more extreme level.
Well, if it'll wrap it up in 7 minutes, I'm out of
We would
space.
never bring in a speaker who would be, as part of their presentation, identifying the differences between Jewish individuals and the Aryan descendants. We would never do that. We would never say, come on in and speak to our students about what you perceive to
Yeah,
be
you gotta bring in the guy who wrote the bell curve and, talk about the difference between black and white people and all those stereotypes too.
I mean, we just wouldn't do that. It's not a message that the district would support. So why then are we saying that the way this individual characterizes his position of the difference between men and women, boys and girls, is a message that we should allow him to deliver?
I think that's just as extreme as the example that I put out.
So this was Matt.
So back to this, if I was a student and well, you were just like, it was way long pause.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
If you were a student and you went to the session because that was the advertisement for it, and it looked all, and you were offended, and you stood up to walk out because you realized this is not for me, to be heckled on the way out the door is so inappropriate. And this person has a reputation of doing that, and I just don't want our students to go through that kind of a process where that's okay to do.
How did you know he has a reputation of doing that?
Because it came up by a person.
One person?
Raise your hand. Raise your hand.
Not against you, person, not against you.
No,
Sorry.
not just one, we got emails today too.
I got emails already.
I got screenshots from Facebook.
Well, the half of the folks, not majority, not majority. At least half the folks walked away from that meeting or that presentation happy.
Because they're
and
injured. They have been injured.
So what if we go into this folks that you're going to feel
No,
bad
it
about
isn't.
eliminating the speaker? I'm sorry to keep saying I'm harping on it, but you got a split audience. And just saying, hey, I don't want one person to feel
What about the
bad.
law?
Half the room gonna make feel bad.
That's all you need to know.
Can I ask a question? I'm wondering, I want this for the district, for Dave, but in the past, I mean, my kids, I have 4 kids, and they've all gone to Mike in high school, graduated from Mike. And so they've apparently heard him. I haven't heard him or seen it. I went, I looked at his website, and I would agree that his website is not doing justice, because I listened to half these people talk about what his message is, and his take-home message, and the people that have heard him, it's not anything like some of the stuff that's presented on his webpage. I completely agree with that. I also agree, as I look up here and you think, okay, which one am I gonna do?
Maybe
17 years old, yeah. Financial literacy. But I'm wondering, I sit here and wonder, we've had him speak a lot. Was there ever any complaint? Was it ever controversial? Was there ever an issue
Yes.
previously that was expressed?
I'll be honest, I didn't know. I asked my son, I asked 2 sons. One told me, one made me input that I don't even want to repeat here, but one of them actually said that he would not propose it because it's very outdated, old, stereotypical. And so he said, you know, if I were in your shoes, I'd say no. I just said, well, I'm just gathering input because I didn't even know you guys had gone.
I was just gonna say, my uncle was the mayor of a small town for a long time. He used to say, it takes an awful thin pancake to not have 2 sides. That's kind of how I feel right here. There are people that feel very passionately on both sides of this issue, and I appreciate that. I've appreciated hearing from everybody. And so, yeah, I would ask, the other question I would ask is it reasonable, is it a reasonable request at this point to have another speaker or something as compelling as Mr. Henning? And maybe that's a question for the principals or whatever, I don't know. But I also would think there are differences, there are things, it's good to hear a viewpoint that is not heard all the time. I don't disagree with that. And so, is there a possibility to give some kind of alternative that would be with the time frames and where we're at right now?
You received
But
an
a good
offer.
old-fashioned compromise with that pancake that has 2 sides.
Yeah, so we're 3 weeks out from this Saturday, is the week of spring break. So the principals are sitting in the far side over there. If you direct them to try to add some additional speakers, that's what they will attempt to do.
Then we get to the,
somebody named one, right?
Emily Richmond. For free. For free. Licensed mental health practitioner and a stand-up comedian. I've seen her. She's hilarious. She sent you an email. You have her message.
I do need to know if she has a webpage before I vote on it. Hey, Dave, I got a question, and this is the only concern that I've heard that I have is that there's been some question about the legality.
Thank you.
I would like that cleared up and proven by.
So you have our attorney's opinion, it was in the packet that you had, and it's for the board, so it's attorney-client privilege, and you can review that. And that is.
Thank you.
Ron, you mentioned that there's been, on any speaker, there's an opposite, there's 2 opposite sides, right? One that I can remember where that was not the case, Carl Wilkins, he was the very last American left from Rwanda during the Rwandan genocide, and he spoke at our school, and I remember reading that and talking with everybody in my class, classmates, but I was not that big. Nobody had anything bad to say about him. I do believe there are speakers that we can get, but there's no bad side to them. That means they're out there.
Okay. You give me a list of them.
To be fair, I think that was a good point, and I think you can have a message that's communicated in an appropriate respectful manner, that maybe somebody disagrees with the message, but the means by which it's delivered doesn't denigrate any particular gender.
Okay, I want to clear something. I was not being disrespectful to you, and I said, okay, and not being unfair. If I was, I apologize. Have it be fair. Just, yeah, something.